Hello and welcome to ASL Chennai Speaks Out. I'm Sanjay Pinto. If you say it's the oldest profession in the world and you can't curb it with existing laws, then why don't you legalize it? This is what the Supreme Court of India recently asked the Solicitor General of India during the hearing of a public interest litigation filed by an NGO, the Bachpan Bachao Andolan, comments that reignited the debate on prostitution. Now, in the land of the Devadasi system, even Kautilya in his Arthashastra had referred to the income of pimps as taxable. But there are groups which hold that all those who are opposed to legalizing prostitution are actually locked away in their ivory towers of academic feminism, divorced completely from the reality that more than 40 lakh commercial sex workers in India face every day. A reality and a routine which simply means going back to those dingy red light areas. A reality which simply means being subjected to police brutality and exploitation by agents. A reality which simply means being harassed and tormented by drunken customers who even refuse to wear condoms. To debate all this and more on the flesh trade, we make no bones about the flesh trade. We are joined by Mr. R.K. Radhakrishnan, Deputy Editor of The Hindu, Mrs. Sudha Rambalingam, Senior Advocate and also a Senior Office Bearer of the People's Union for Civil Liberties, Mrs. Sheila Jayaprakash, Senior Advocate of the Madras High Court, Dr. Kantaraj, one of the founders and also a former Joint Director of TANSACS. We've got Mr. Jebaraj, founder and director of Just Trust, somebody who has rescued more than 2,500 girls. Mr. Hariharan, director of ICWO. We've got various representatives from commercial sex workers associations here and a lot of people who are interested in this burning issue. So without much ado, let me get started with you, ma'am. They say, the inability to curb something cannot be an argument in its favor. You cannot stop murders and rapes, so then do you legalize it?
Definitely not. And that's not a real argument itself. We do not say that prostitution could be legalized just because it can't be curbed. It's only because the very fact that these women who are into sex work have been exploited continuously, they have been deprived of medical attention continuously, and it's also that the market forces exploit them more than what they could, and it is the pimps who earn today and not the real women who are
Do you believe, ma'am, it should be viewed as a form of exploitation to be abolished and not a trade to be regulated?
Definitely it is an exploited trade, one. Secondly, when there are adult voluntary consensual relationships which is coming forth even by way of these sex workers, I don't think there is any reason why we should now say that no to this trade. After all, it is a trade which even according to you at the beginning itself you said it's been existent for ages together, and it's a trade in which women sometimes do feel that they are safe in the sense that they get enough money if they have no other choice of income.
Dr.
So naturally, allow them to do what they want to.
Do you believe that if you legalize it, you will at least be able to monitor the trade? Women in the trade will be able to have access to medical aid. You can rehabilitate them. You can have a record of commercial sex workers.
Maybe theoretically it is right, but practically I don't think it is possible.
Why, sir?
Because you must know about the various incubation period for the diseases. For example, there is a disease called gonorrhea. This can infect another person within 3 days. If we are going to examine every commercial sex workers every week, within 3rd day the person will be infected, but the commercial sex worker will be under the impression that she is safe and she will go on practice. But whoever had sex for the next 4 days will have the disease, will get the disease because they think they are protected. They are completely cured. They know the preventive methods. So with this in their mind, they will go and expose. As such, medically speaking, the legalization may not help you, may not bring you the results you expect. For example, France and US, there is no abolition or there is no curb on prostitution.
But Brazil, which in fact legalized prostitution, has a huge success story when it comes to the AIDS program.
Initially, we too have a very successful program without this law. But Madam says the exploitation of the woman. Suppose if you legalize, the same thing will happen even to the innocent girls. You must keep
it's
that
happening
in your
even
mind.
now, sir, today.
That may, but when you
Let me ask, I mean, there's somebody who rescued more than 2,500 girls, Mr. Jebaraj.
Sir.
If you legalize it, will more innocent victims fall prey to this?
No, legalization is not possible because if you are legalizing the prostitution, innocent, our women and children will be trafficked.
1949 UN Convention on the Suppression of Trafficking, ratified by 72 states, held that prostitution and trafficking are incompatible with the dignity and worth of human beings.
Absolutely. What Mr. Jebaraj is essentially saying is that if a woman is poor and has no other means to live, she would rather be begging than find any way, out of her own system. See, that is what agitates a lot of us. This trade existed much before we were all born. It will exist much after we are all gone. So I think that is the framework from which we have to approach. We have regulated child labor. I mean, it's everybody will say today there is no child labor. Is it a fact? No. There is going to be prostitution
You have
always.
not regulated child labor, you have banned child labor.
Yeah, basically the thing is that you have brought in laws, and those laws we claim are being implemented. The state claims are being implemented. So what's wrong in having any law which regulates this particular trade? Let us look at it as an industry because it runs on successful business models. Right now, as Madam was saying, it's all like the pimps are making the money, the whole lot of people are making the money, the people, commercial sex workers are not getting anything at all. Is this the way to go about it? We have to give them some kind of dignity, and if this is the way to do it, let them do it.
Radhakrishnan, there are families, there are mothers who push their daughters into this trade, either because of poverty or because of greed. Should they be allowed to do this by legalizing it?
This will never end. Greed will never end. I don't think, as Mahatma Gandhi once said, there is enough for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed. So I don't think we can regulate greed. What we can do is we can put some kind of legal framework to this entire thing of prostitution so that there is better health care, access to better health care, access to some kind of legal.
But he says practically it's not possible. Dr. Kantaraj, who's been in the field for decades, says it's not possible practically.
No, that's no reason to say that you can't have a legal framework. This is a fact. 40 lakh people, as you yourself said, are involved in the trade. If you are going to say that no, let us not look at them at all. Let us brush them aside. Let us,
all right. Out of the 40 lakh people, 25% are minors, pushed into it as a form of slavery, as a form of bonded labor.
That's why I said we need laws.
We'll also ensure that children are not brought into this trade, one. Secondly, also
How will that happen, ma'am? How will that happen if
Definitely you can criminalize this once there is a legal setup itself. There will also be surveillance in proper terms, not in the shady terms which happens today. So we'll always have, whenever there is a licensing process, then there will also be an openness to the entire thing, and these women can come to the fore. She will get the benefit, and she'll also get the medical benefits. She'll also reap whatever is there as dues to her. It will not be the pimp and the policeman who will be earning. Today the policeman and the pimp earns, and the woman really suffers.
That's a valid point, ma'am, because in fact, a survey indicates that it's the pimp, the middleman, who actually makes the killing, and the actual commercial sex worker gets just 1/10 of the actual fee that is charged.
I think in our discussion so far, we've only talked about the woman in prostitution. She is the most visible face.
And victim.
She's the victim, but she's also the most visible face. But you've got to see, she is only the tip that shows outside. You have got trafficking. When you legalize prostitution, are you going to legalize trafficking? Because that's what's going to happen. You will legalize trafficking. You will be legalizing sexual exploitation of women. This legalization comes forward as the most viable solution to prostitution.
Is it, ma'am?
No, I'm sorry to tell this. Fundamentally, any woman or man has a right to practice his own employment. Whatever I want, I can do it. It's a fundamental right. One.
You can't claim this under 19(1)(g) of the Constitution,
yes.
right?
No, secondly, what happens is, when you talk about legalizing, it does not mean that you just call everybody and say, call for applications and ask them to become sex workers. This is just telling that it cannot be criminalized. This is what is more important.
What is the distinction, ma'am, between decriminalizing it like 377 IPC
Yes.
and legalizing? Is there a subtle difference?
Legalizing, you try to say that you give a permission to practice this. When you say you're not criminalizing, it means that you're not punishing if this happens.
You look the other way.
Yes, but anyhow, what I would like to say
But right now, as a law, ma'am,
licensing-
this Suppression of Immoral Traffic Act does it decriminalize or does it make it illegal? Because
It
it only talks
actually-
about in a public place, ma'am. It doesn't
Yes.
happen in a public place.
It not only it happens from a public place, only such of those persons who are earning out of that income would be punishable.
Ma'am, in that
So-
case, do you believe then if you legalize it, then the actual, the commercial sex workers will escape police harassment?
But that's just a small part of it. It's not the commercial sex worker. If you legalize it, what about trafficking? You are commercializing, you are allowing trafficking to take place.
That's, Radhakrishnan want to answer
Trafficking
that.
of children, of minors.
Because
What
then
happens?
nothing prevents
are
prevents the mafia from entering the field and actually getting into this, treating it like an industry.
No, basically, are you trying to say we will not legalize this because this thing will happen, that thing will happen, and that the other
Yes,
thing will happen?
yes.
Are you trying to say that? I don't think that is fair. And most of the lot of commercial sex workers, I don't have ballpark figures, but then let me tell you this: they do not get into the field because they are forced, they were exploited, or whatever.
Okay,
They
there
do not-
are some representatives from the association.
Yeah.
Can you pass the mic to them, please? The lady is wearing mask behind. அம்மா நீ யாராவது உங்களை ஃபோர்ஸ் பண்ணாங்களா இதில் வந்து இந்த தொழிலுக்குள்ளே செய்கிறதுக்கு?
இல்லை, எங்களை யாரும் ஃபோர்ஸ் பண்ணலை. ஏன்னா ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கும் ஒவ்வொரு பிரச்சனைகள் இருக்கும். இப்போ எனக்கு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, நான் வேலைக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு என்னை கூட்டிகிட்டு போய் பாலியல் தொழிலுக்கு விட்டாங்க. அதுதான், ஏன்னா யாரும் எங்களை வந்து ஃபோர்ஸ் பண்ணி நீங்கள் இதுக்கு போங்க அப்படின்னு சொன்னது கிடையாது.
விட்டார்கள் என்பதே ஃபோர்சிபிள் தான். அக்கார்டிங் டு NHRC ஸ்டடீஸ், கிட்டத்தட்ட more than 80% of the commercial sex workers are traffic persons. In recent studies, Madras University studies, we can say that almost more than 90% are traffic persons, and they have been trafficked before
have a
puberty.
reality
I
check.
believe a lot of these girls who come from Andhra to act in Tamil movies, here in to Kodambakam and the other place, I think they are very well aware as to what they are coming in for. They are exploited. I mean, if exploitation is the word that you would like me to use, I'll say they are exploited in their homes. They are exploited by their own people. Then they come here, they get exploited again. Whether they make it big or not is another question. But the point is that let us not be moralistic. They are getting finally a chance to make.
Are you being prudish or prudent?
No, I'm just saying that they work from project to project. They finish a project, yeah. They finish a project, they get some.
I have a point. See, now the women, when there are no seniors, no elders to take care of them, suppose if she is a widow or somebody, she goes and sells some food and other things, or do tailoring, small household jobs like that, a decent job. But if you legalize, this is the easiest way to make money. They are forced, they are tempted to become prostitutes.
They're saying they're not forced.
No.
They're saying they're not forced.
அம்மா அவர் என்ன கேட்டாருன்னு தெரியுமாம்மா? அம்மா அவர் என்ன கேட்டாருன்னு தெரியுமா? உங்களை வந்து வற்புறுத்தினாங்களா இந்த தொழிலுக்கு போக சொல்லி, இல்ல நீங்களே விரும்பி போனீங்களான்னு கேக்குறாரு. அதுக்கு பதில் சொல்லுங்க.
இல்லை, அதான் நான் ஃபஸ்ட்டாக சொன்ன மாதிரி எல்லாருக்கும் ஒவ்வொரு விதமான பிரச்சனைகள் இருக்குது. இப்போ எனக்கு வந்து என்ன வேலைக்குன்னு சொல்லி கூட்டு போய் தான் அங்கே இது பண்ணாங்க.
I have college students. They are also women who are employed in the corporate sector and the government and other sectors who are well aware of what they are doing, and still they enjoy and they take to this trade in the sly. I know of.
For what reason, ma'am? Just to supplement the income or?
For various reasons, also to supplement income. Yes. And knowing fully well they do indulge in. The entire thing is the stigma, the moral things which are incorporated into this. But for the sense of looking at it as something very immoral, the doctor very clearly said, decent work and indecent work. Who talks about this decency and indecency? After all, in an age and era where late marriages have come to stay, where migration is on the rise, where there is so much of anonymity, there's going to be bound to be such associations with women, and it is a biological necessity too. When it becomes a biological necessity, it would also mean that it will always be there and cannot be eradicated. So how do you protect these women?
If it is a biological need, there should not be any money transaction, right? If a body needs some biological this
We
thing.
go buy food from the supermarket.
You doctor, you won't.
You buy food from the supermarket.
A few
That's also for that.
See, we have to see the definition of trafficking.
No, but she's asked you a very practical question there.
You
When
go
you
buy
buy,
food from the
Whatever
supermarket.
whatever
You buy
reasons she has
medicines,
quoted.
that's all also for your biological needs.
Excuse
Do you
me.
not
half of them
spend
are spurious today anyway.
Excuse
Half
me,
of them are spurious.
I think a few women may have got into prostitution of their own will. But you've got to see that the vast majority of them were inducted into prostitution pre-puberty. There's been a tremendous demand for
25%
pre-puberty girls.
Naturally, madam.
So if you
Look
regulate,
for an old lady in the profession.
Mr. Hariharan,
Look for an old lady in the profession.
So,
Mr. Hariharan,
how
who
do you
deals with
protect
this
that?
every day, I mean, Mr. Hariharan.
We have been, our organization called ICW, we have been working for sex workers, with sex workers for last 18 years. We are not for the legalization of prostitution.
Why?
For at this moment.
You don't think
Because
it will be a
actually-
progressive step? Supreme Court seems to have an open mind, so what's your problem?
Actually, the law does not say policemen can beat them up. Policemen can rape them. Policemen can steal the money. Police can blackmail the money. The law does not say that.
And also
But in the
abuse them.
practical, it is happening.
No, that
But
becomes
at this
illegal.
moment, we think it is too early to talk about legalization of
So
prostitution.
let me ask you, there is
We-
something called, I don't know if you've heard this, an International Sex and Red Light Guide. It says, and I'm quoting from this guide, if one chooses to use her body instead of slavery, and men are willing to pay more than slave labor wages, if it's not your body, if it's not your life, then it's not your business. Will
It
your
is done
organization
on-
lose its locus standi if it's legalized? Is that why you're worried?
No, it is
No.
nothing. No. Actually, the law does not say what is being actually been practiced there. And if you say it is legal, it is not punishable. There will be large number of industries, business people ready to pump in more money into it. For example, if you say it is legal from tomorrow, there will be 4,500 brothels in Chennai alone.
That will be fantastic.
44,000
That will be fantastic.
in
For whom? For whom? Fantastic for whom?
Yeah, fantastic for anybody who wants to use services. Anybody who wants to use services. Now,
Is it fantastic news for somebody?
Wait.
Is it fantastic news for somebody? No, is it fantastic news?
And Madam Sudha Ramalingam should answer my question
Yeah.
for this question.
No, I'll finish with you.
Wait, Mr. Alex.
empower
Wait,
the
Mr. Alex. Wait, madam.
no, is it
You please answer my question.
Yeah, please ask your question. Ask the question, then answer it.
Suppose one of your close relative, because the prostitution has been legalized, will you put them into this profession?
Definitely, if that close relative wants to be in that profession, I have no problem. It's not me putting anybody
It's an
into
adult
profession.
choice.
I cannot. It is a voluntary adult consensual
will you take
relationship.
her and will you put
I
her
would not
or
train
him into
anyone
the
to anything.
profession?
I would
That's
not
not our
train
job.
even my children into any
He's
job. I would
escaping.
think
All
that
right,
it
no.
is
He's
done on
escaping.
a
It's not my
personal
job.
right.
He's
All right,
escaping.
okay, respond to that
Yeah, one
comment.
second.
Radhakrishnan, respond to that comment.
I'll just come to that.
This is one
See,
profession where people are not getting in of their own choice.
No way.
If there are
No way.
4,500,
Respond to that.
That's a fallacy.
No, respond to that, yeah.
this is a common area.
4,500
Now, if he
people
says that a
today-
policeman is going to exploit a prostitute and take money out of her. take
Policeman
money-
exploits motorists also for spot
Yeah,
fines.
exactly. Policeman exploits anywhere there is a legal loophole to exploit. If you jump a traffic light, he is going to catch you. You'll have to pay him, instead of 500, you pay him 100. The same thing happens everywhere. If you are going to say just merely because of that we don't need a law, I think that is our fallacy. I think we are going
Well,
to.
since you're talking of policemen, let me ask you, do you believe that when you legalize it, people at least
What
will wear...
policeman is doing.
Sorry?
He's trying to justify.
No, he's not
what-
justifying it. No, no.
He says,
I
let
love
them
cops.
take 100
I love
rupees
cops.
or
By the way, he's not from the police department, no. Since you spoke about policemen,
Yeah.
let me give you this analogy. Do you believe that when you legalize it, probably you can force customers to actually wear condoms, which is a real problem today? Because today, although you have a law to wear helmets, nobody
No
wears
way.
helmets.
Who will
Nobody wears
examine-
helmets.
Who will examine that?
On
How
my
far
side,
have
we
women
can
got
definitely
rights
enforce
over
many
their
things.
own bodies? Talking about condoms, how many women in a marriage can ask for the use of condoms?
There's marital rape as well. I mean, as somebody who deals with family court matters as well.
How many women can negotiate?
Sir, in this
How
matter-
many of them have that negotiating space
Yeah, she has
in
not
the
been-
sexual realm?
I was in charge of promoting condoms. Hariharan knows about it. And the sales has gone from 1 lakh to 15 lakhs. We were very happy. The condom has come to stay and the condom has been accepted by the society. But on the contrary, when we went to a lodge near Udundurpet, on the side of the, near the compound, we saw a heap of unused condoms, like the drugs now you are seeing in the wells and other things. Unused condoms in millions. What does it mean? They buy, they take, they don't use. As far as I am concerned, my statistics is there. I have sold 15 lakhs. I am successful. AIDS is gone. What is the reality?
That's no
It is
reason-
not so.
that's
If
no
you
reason to say anything
legalize,
against
if
legalizing.
you legalize,
Yeah.
the innocent girls who would have gone for some other decent job Madam, you must excuse
What-
me
what
for
decent jobs
using
are-
the word.
What
Wait,
decent jobs
sir,
are
wait,
doing?
sir, let me
Don't try to
finish.
say that,
Let me
commercial
finish,
sex
madam.
work is
Let me
indecent.
finish, madam. Let me finish. Decency, indecency. If I say decent, you have the right to say indecent.
நீங்கள் முதல்ல சொன்னீங்க வேலைக்கு வான்னு சொல்லி கூப்பிட்டாங்க அப்படின்னு. என்ன வேலைன்னு தெரியுமா?
எறா கம்பெனியில் வேலைக்கு கூப்பிட்டுருந்தாங்க.
ஏதோ கம்பெனியில் வேலைக்கு கூப்பிட்டாங்க. எறா கம்பெனியில் உங்களை வந்து நீங்கள் இந்த மாதிரி தொழிலில் உங்களை ஈடுபடுத்துவோம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி கூப்பிட்டுருந்தா நீங்கள் வந்திருப்பீங்களா?
அது எப்படி அதில் போவாங்க?
I don't disagree that there are a lot of people who are forced into flesh trade, but I'm sure there are people who are in a state of despair and where they're shown the path and they take it themselves.
All right. Okay, on that note, it's time to slide into a short break on SL Chennai Speaks Out. When we come back, we'll talk about the stigma.